Why shall we go gluten-free? People think this is just a fashionable trend and that hopefully it will go over. They think 30% of Americans have just gone gluten-free only because celebrities do. But this food fad does have some legitimate science to back it up. So maybe it's here to stay. What is gluten? Gluten is a protein composed of gliadin and glutenin that affects 1% from the population that suffers from celiac disease. Though gluten is defined as being specific to wheat, it can also be found in barley, rye, and oats. So gluten itself is not the big problem, only that processed food has been added extra gluten to make it easier to cook. Modern industrialized bread and pastry making uses speed machines, fats, and enzymes so bread could be made quickly and cheaply. They took the fermentation step out of the baking. This process, called sourdough, used to degrade the gluten for us, but took too many hours, so it was replaced by commercial yeast. Commercial bread manufacturers are adding extra gluten to loaves simply to make them fuzzier, spongier, and lighter. The last 50 years, agricultural technology has worked really hard to improve crop productivity without using more land or water. This is called double cropping. They develop seed varieties with short growth cycles that allows farmers to harvest at least 2 crops on the same land during the same season. Hybridization consists in crossing 2 different species, creating a new genotype with stronger selected characteristics. Although hybridization occurs in nature, in the last 70 years, plant breeders have accelerated this process in the labs. In 1960, in the attempt to minimize world hunger, Nobel Prize winner Norman Borlaug created a super dwarf wheat, crossing wheat with a Japanese dwarf variety of grass. The wheat that we are eating now is shorter, meaning more of the plant's energy is put into the seed, resulting in more grain per plant. It's also more resistant to pests and to wind, so the plant does not lodge or fall over. The only problem is we are now eating a wheat with 42 chromosomes instead of 14, and the stronger wheat has become harder to digest for human beings. There is one theory that claims that the real reason why these grains are so toxic is not the gluten, but the herbicide is being used just prior to harvest. This herbicide contains glyphosate, a chemical that is disrupting or destroying the good bacteria in our gut. These good bacteria help us with digestion, synthesis of vitamins, and what is more important, protects the walls of our intestine, preventing its permeability. A big number of people started to complain with symptoms like headaches, sleeping disorders, rashes, joint pain, brain fog, depression, and irritable bowels. Although testing negative for celiac, these people said that when they took gluten out of the diet, the symptoms disappeared. The answer to their problem can be found in Dr. Alessio Fasano's research. He and his team discovered that no human beings have the enzymes to properly digest gluten protein, gliadin. This gluten peptide stays undigested in our intestines, and our body releases zonulin as a reaction. Zonulin is responsible for opening the T junctions in our intestinal wall in order to let the large peptide through into the bloodstream. The longer these gates stay open, the more number of enemies like bacteria and toxins would go through into the bloodstream. When gluten gets into the blood, it's interpreted by our immune system as a bacteria, and he will fight against it by a process called phagocytosis. A healthy person will win this fight, and the intestinal wall will close fast and heal without them even knowing. On a weaker person, these walls will stay longer open, allowing more enemies to get through, and their immune system, that is overloaded and not well tuned, gets confused and attacks its own body cells, mounting an autoimmune disorder. Within gluten-related disorders, we can find autoimmune diseases like celiac disease and gluten ataxia, allergic reactions such as respiratory allergies and food allergies, and gluten sensitivity reactions. I strongly believe that all this energy our body is wasting to fight against gluten could be used to be more effective in sports, allowing us to improve our performances, to be able to concentrate better in school, work, giving us free time to spend with family and friends. As an athlete, I understand the importance of carbs intake as main fuel for our working muscles to avoid early fatigue. But the main problem is that athletes are choosing the wrong type of carbs, which are highly processed and contain lots of sugar. Their carb intake should be based on fruit, vegetables, nuts, and berries. To be able to recover properly after the long training sessions, they should take lots of proteins by eating meat, fish, and eggs. But stop eating gluten is not an easy job, as our brain is highly addicted to it, and it will take some days to get rid of the withdrawal symptoms. If you're one of those persons who's constantly tired, or you suffer from any skin conditions and cream is your best friend, you take a lot of painkillers against migraine, or you just would like to feel better while playing any sports, you might consider to take part of my research. So please don't hesitate and contact me at annamarguerat@gmail.com.